Jasmine had always told herself the creeping sense of being watched was paranoia, a side effect of living alone. But Kevin, her landlord, was the specific, terrifying source of that dread. He wasn't just creepy, he was a predator masquerading as a property manager. He was a mid-50s man who always smelled faintly of old leather and stale coffee, his eyes constantly scanning her windows, lingering a second too long when she checked her mail. He knew things he shouldn't: the brand of coffee she drank, the hours she kept, even the day she'd bought a new pair of shoes. She'd found small, subtle signs of intrusion, a light switch turned off as Kevin would appear unannounced, citing a quick fire alarm check or a mandatory water heater inspection, always feigning politeness while his presence felt like a physical violation. He seemed to relish the controlled power he held over her space. The afternoon the trap was sprung began with an unnervingly cheerful knock. "Jasmine, just a quick 5-minute check on the wiring conduit. Standard quarterly stuff," Kevin announced, slipping inside before she could fully open the door. He was overtly cordial, almost manic. After quickly checking the hallway outlet, he turned, holding up a small, ornate box. "A little peace offering," he said, his smile too wide. "You've been through a lot lately with those leaky faucets." "Hand-dipped chocolates from the local bakery." Jasmine hesitated. She knew not to accept anything from him, but his sudden vulnerability was disarming. To refuse might escalate the tension in an uncontrollable way. She took a dark, square piece, biting into it immediately to end the interaction quickly. The flavor was rich, slightly bitter, then strangely chemical. "They're wonderful, thank you," she managed, pushing him toward the door. "Stay and chat a while," Kevin insisted, his voice changing, losing the performative cheer and taking on a low, insistent tone. He stepped further into the living room. Jasmine felt the change almost instantly. It wasn't the rush of sugar. It was a profound, heavy fatigue washing over her brain, dulling the edges of her vision. "Sleeping pills." She froze, the realization hitting her like a physical blow. She looked at Kevin. His eyes were no longer kind or even neutral. They were expectant, predatory, waiting for her to crumble. I suddenly feel very ill," Jasmine slurred, forcing her hand to grip the door handle. Kevin chuckled, a dry, guttural sound. "It's just a little rest, dear. You've been so stressed." He moved to block the front door, his large body a menacing shadow. The floor was tilting. Her limbs felt like lead weights, but the terror was a jolt of adrenaline, a final, desperate burst of energy. She knew she had seconds. With a primal surge, she shoved the heavy chair beside the door, sending it crashing into Kevin's knee. He roared in surprise and pain, momentarily stumbling. That was all she needed. She ripped the door open and bolted, plunging into the afternoon sunlight. She didn't stop running until she was 2 blocks away, collapsing onto the curb, her mind fading in and out of darkness. She pulled out her phone, her fingers fumbling with the screen lock, and managed to call the one person she knew could build a firewall around her life. Jasmine woke hours later in a spare room lit only by the glowing monitors of her friend Anna. Anna, a lean, fiercely intelligent woman, was an ethical hacker who worked in digital asset protection. Her profession was built on finding the invisible doors and locking them down. "You're safe now, Jas. The moment you called, I drove straight over, pulled you out of your car, and brought you here. I've swept this place for bugs, physical and digital. It's clean." Anna handed her a glass of water. Jasmine explained everything: the chocolates, the sudden paralysis, the predatory look in Kevin's eyes. He knew exactly when to strike. "He must have been tracking me, watching my habits, waiting for me to be alone." Anna's expression was grim, but her gaze was sharp and focused. "Stalking is one thing. Breaking and entering with the intent to drug someone? That's felony assault, Jas. We are not going to the police yet. If he's this bold, he's probably got a narrative prepared, maybe even counter evidence. We need forensic proof that this wasn't an isolated incident. We need his digital ledger." Anna immediately launched phase 1, the digital perimeter. They began with a deep forensic analysis of Jasmine's phone, performing a thorough scrub to check for direct malware, but finding nothing. Kevin was too smart for such basic methods. Anna then moved to network mapping, using specialized software to identify every known Wi-Fi signal reaching Jasmine's house. It quickly revealed a rogue repeater operating from a neighbor's vacant unit, strategically boosting a signal linked to a cheap cloud IP camera service. The next discovery was the smart home breach. Jasmine realized the digital intrusion extended to the smart thermostat and entry system Kevin, as the landlord, had installed. He controls the codes, Anna. He can see every time I open or close the door. Jasmine realized. He might see the time, but he leaves a metadata signature, Jas. Let's find out what else he was watching, Anna countered, focusing on the data logs of the smart hub, meticulously tracing connection attempts and remote access records. For the next 4 days, Anna and Jasmine lived in a sterile, silent world of computer screens and code. Anna began the deep dive, treating Kevin's digital identity like an enemy state's infrastructure. Anna executed a reverse engineering of the pinhole camera IP. The initial IP address used for the chocolate surveillance was a disposable VPN endpoint. Anna meticulously worked backwards, cross-referencing timestamps of the VPN connection logs with known server maintenance records. After 48 hours, she bypassed the VPN, tracing the connection back to its original physical access point, a fiber-optic modem registered to a shell company in the Cayman Islands, but physically located at a commercial storage unit just 5 miles from the preserve. Bingo, Anna whispered, pulling up the location data. He wasn't running the surveillance from his home. He built a hidden command center. Anna then performed the financial ghost hunt. Using open-source intelligence Ozone techniques, she cross-referenced the storage unit's payment processor with public records linked to the Cayman shell company. This revealed a chain of dark transactions, large, irregular cryptocurrency payments flowing into an account that only had 2 links: the shell company and a private security forum on the dark web. Jasmine watched, horrified, as Anna opened the encrypted forum. The username, Propertyking1970, was unmistakable. The posts weren't about property management. They were offers for stolen identities and instructions for bypassing residential security systems. Anna's voice was sharp with realization. He wasn't just creeping on you, Jas. This is a side hustle. He's running a massive operation. The HOA gig is just cover. Your house was the testing ground for his surveillance tech and B&E methods. The final, devastating piece of evidence came from a metadata audit of Kevin's personal router. By exploiting a known firmware vulnerability in the router brand Kevin used, Anna gained temporary, silent access. She found not just his browser history, but also cached files. Among them was an archived folder containing hundreds of high-resolution security camera images, not just of Jasmine's house, but of dozens of houses in the community, all homes occupied by single female renters. He had been casing, watching, and planning on a massive scale, using his landlord status as an undetectable means of access. The file names were chilling: Target for entry, Target 7 layout. With the irrefutable evidence, the connection between Kevin, the illegal surveillance command center, and the dark web identity theft ring, Jasmine and Anna were ready. They contacted Anna's most trusted contact, a detective in the Cybercrimes division, bypassing the local precinct entirely. They met the detective at a secure location, presenting him with a comprehensive digital dossier. This dossier meticulously laid out the facts. Detailed logs of Kevin's suspicious behavior and the poisoned chocolate incident. The forensic link proving the connection between Kevin's private router and the Eastern European VPN endpoint used to monitor Jasmine. The evidence of the criminal network, including screenshots and transaction data linking the shell company to the dark web identity theft forum. And finally, the chilling cache of archived surveillance images of over 20 targets, demonstrating a pattern of felony stalking and criminal preparation. The evidence was overwhelming. The Cybercrimes division, seeing not just a landlord dispute but a major organized crime operation, mobilized instantly, securing warrants for the storage unit, Kevin's home, and his person based on the combined charges of felony assault, the drugging, illegal surveillance, and conspiracy to commit identity theft. The arrest was quick and brutal. The SWAT team descended on Kevin's home early the next morning. Kevin, arrogant and convinced of his own impunity, was still half asleep when the front door splintered inward. The raid on the storage unit confirmed Anna's findings. It contained dozens of pinhole cameras, lockpicking tools, burner phones, and equipment for manufacturing fake IDs. Jasmine didn't witness the arrest, but Anna brought her the news that afternoon. Kevin was being held without bail, facing federal charges. The evidence Anna had compiled was airtight. Jasmine was no longer defined by the fear of being watched. She had taken the toxic darkness Kevin had injected into her life and, with the help of a brilliant ally, had used it to expose and destroy his entire criminal empire. She was safe, and the entire community of the preserve was finally free of the invisible observer.